Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and I'm here today to give you my review of the Tamron 20mm F2.8 OSD, and this is M1:2, which means it has a 1:2 magnification ratio, or a 0.5 times magnification. A very useful figure indeed. Now, if you are looking for a deeper dive, more of the nitty-gritty, more of the process, I would invite you to take a look at the definitive review that will explore everything in more detail. Particularly if you're interested in purchasing the lens, I think it would be beneficial to watch that. If you're looking for a shorter format review, however, this is the one for you today. Now, this Tamron is the third in a series of prime lenses that Tamron announced and released fairly quickly. This one came a little bit later. They spent a little bit more time in development, but there is also a 24mm and a 35mm that essentially looks identical in terms of the basic form factor. These lenses are, kind of what you would call a consumer grade build, engineer plastics exterior, but they do have at least one significant upscale feature in that they have a full weather sealing from a gasket at the rear. There is internal seals inside, and there is a fluorine coating on the front element to resist fingerprints, to resist, moisture and dust, and to help to keep everything, functional, even if you're in, somewhat adverse weather conditions. And so always a very, very welcome thing, particularly with the lens that's priced at $349. Now, all of these lenses have as I noted, a very similar design. And in fact, it's one that is shared to some degree with the zoom lenses from Tamron, in that all of them have a 67mm front filter thread. And so for the zooms, that keeps them nice and slim. For the primes, particularly with a only moderately wide aperture of f2.8 for a prime lens, it makes them perhaps a little bit wider than what is absolutely necessary. However, you do get maybe a bit of a trade-off in that they don't suffer as much from vignette as some comparative lenses do, although that doesn't completely eliminate the issue. The positive is that you're able to share 67mm filters across all of Tamron's current releases for Sony FE, the platform that this lens is designed for. And so when it comes to the build, some positives there and some other things that can be construed as a negative. There are no switches of any kind on here. The focus ring is only okay. And in fact, I find when manually focusing that it's not completely linear, not just in the sense of the position of the ring, but not entirely linear even in the manner of focus. You tend to see, focus a little bit and then see a little bit of a step and a little bit more, rather than a smooth, kind of gradual focus. It tends to happen in small steps. And so that is perhaps my least favorite thing of the manual focus aspect. Now, this lens employs Tamron's OSD, or Optimized Silent Drive, and compared to the RXD focus motor that they've put in their zooms thus far, I don't like it nearly as well. For one thing, it is not as quiet as the RXD. You'll hear, as we take a look at some focus pulls here, you'll hear that there is a little bit of clicking noise that is made as focus changes are executed. And so because there is that little bit of noise that can be picked up by the onboard microphone, you also run into an issue that if you're trying to keep a static shot as this one here, and there are any kind of minor focus changes, you tend to drawn to the fact of those little focus shifts because you can hear a subtle clicking that is taking place as a part of that. And so that may or may not be a factor for your video work, considering the fact that, if you're recording your audio in some other way, not really an issue. Or if you're shooting in, a little bit louder environments, obviously you're not going to pick up on those sounds, which are a little bit more faint. Another positive for video, however, is that this lens has incredibly good flare resistance, and so it is maybe the best performance I've ever seen. As we pan across the sun, it is basically unaffected by bright light entering into it, so that's useful for video. Also useful for video is the fact that it does receive in-camera corrections for the optical flaws, like vignette or distortion, and so that makes it useful there. And of course, it's a very attractive focal length even for vlogging. And so as you can see from this shot here, it works just fine as a lens for, tracking one's face. And even though this is just a quick handheld example, it's a focal length that works well for that, along with being attractive both at the 20mm, full full frame focal length, but then also in Super 35 mode, you know, something closer to 30 millimeters or a little bit longer, also very useful. And so I think that video shooters might be attracted to it for that. Also the fact that it's very lightweight and compact makes it an easy lens to use off of a gimbal as well. Now, in terms of the autofocus, beyond that, autofocus consistency was just fine. I had, fine success when tracking eyes, both of humans and of animals, and so that's positive. Do note, however, just the nature of the beast. Wider angle lenses, you have to be reasonably close to your subject for IAF to take place, for the simple reason that with a wider angle of view, the eye only occupies a smaller portion of the angle of view, and so you have to be fairly close, and so the eye occupies enough of the frame to actually be detected. And that's the nature of all wide angle lenses, not just this one. Now, when it comes to the image quality, there are a lot of goods that may be potentially offset for your purposes by one major flaw, and that is that this lens has a fairly tremendous amount of barrel distortion. Some of the worst barrel distortion that I've seen, in fact. And it's not just evident up close like in my test chart. I also saw it at medium distance, around 15 feet, 4 meters away, and you can even see it at infinity. It's exaggerated if you are a raw shooter by the fact that at this point there are no automatic correction profiles available in any of the various software options that I took a look at, and so that means you're left trying to manually correct for it, which can be a bit of a pain, particularly if you're not experienced in doing that. It's fairly linear, but even after some manual correction, there is a tiny wave that is left. It's mostly the quantity, though, that makes it difficult to properly correct for, and you will lose a fair bit of the image, the width of the image, when trying to correct for that, because there is so much barrel distortion. And so that's kind of a major factor. In terms of the resolution is actually quite good. It's very sharp, even at f2.8, with good contrast. Contrast improves when stopped down to f4 and f5.6. And at f5.6 and smaller apertures, you basically have fairly excellent sharpness all across the frame. And so you have a very, very good performance when it comes to that. Looking at a few competitors, it's a bit sharper than the Samyang AF 18mm F2.8, though the Samyang has much lower distortion. It is a little less sharp than Tamron's own 17 to 28 millimeters, with the zoom set at 20 millimeters, where it is quite excellent. It has very low distortion at that point, relatively little vignette, and it's extremely sharp, sharper in fact than what the prime lens is. Stop down to about f5.6. I would say that the zoom is still ever so slightly higher contrast and a little bit higher resolution. However, you probably wouldn't notice if you didn't have them side by side. However, Tamron creates really the greatest competition for this lens if you can afford the budget of nearly $900 for the zoom lens. If your budget is smaller, however, this is a much more attractive option at $349. And if you're off-put by the barrel distortion and you can handle 24 millimeters instead of 20 millimeters, I would recommend taking a look at Tamron's 24mm F2.8 OSD lens, which has much less barrel distortion and shares a lot of the strengths of this particular lens. It is useful at its macro distances and provides really nice sharpness there, and it's kind of a unique angle of view at a wider shot. Just note that because of that kind of barrel distortion, you're not going to get a flat plane of focus, and so only a portion of the image is going to be sharp and in focus. So just make sure that you put your subject where you want it to be and recognize that it's not going to be sharp across the frame. So not good for reproducing documents or something like that. And so I hope that this helps you to make an informed decision as to the strengths and weaknesses of this lens. I'm always glad to see new options that are made available to us as Sony shooters, and this can be an attractive one if the strengths meet your needs and you can live with its weaknesses. I'm Dustin Abbott, and if you'll look in the description down below, I do have a full text review that I would welcome you to check out, and it kind of documents everything in a little bit more detail, as does the definitive review if you want to look at that. There's also links there to an image gallery if you want to look at more photos. Also buying links if you'd like to purchase one for yourself and help to support the channel at the same time. There's also linkage there to follow me on social media or to become a patron, to sign up for my newsletter, and if you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button right here on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.